Good morning, and it's a pleasure to be back at Mount Olive. Some of you have known me a long time, others of you may not know me, but I'm really happy to be here and representing Bethania Kids and Mount Olive's long relationship with Bethania Kids. I have lots to say. I know many of you are familiar, and so we will start with kind of putting it into some context, who I am and how I got involved with India and how Mount Olive got involved with India. And then we'll try to move quickly into all of the different ministry locations and especially what's been happening most recently. So, here we go. I do encourage, interrupt me with questions. I've heard that, people will kind of be flowing back and forth in and out, which is very fine. We can keep this very informal. All right, so just a quick history or backstory on me. This is, oh no, went too fast. Okay, this is a very recent photo of my family. We live in Minneapolis, and I was married to Scott here almost 20 years ago. And we have a son named Simon who is in the 8th grade. He's 13. We go to Hope Community Church, downtown Minneapolis. That's where the boys are now. And then they may be sneaking in the back towards the end. But that is us today. If you go back 28 years ago, when I was growing up in Mount Olive in the 80s and 90s, it was the Mark Wegener era. These people you might remember, this was my family of origin, and I'm the oldest of Gene and Christy Hennig's 3 kids. This was 96, so my middle brother Luke's confirmation. Luke is married to his wife Adriana, and they live in Washington, D.C. And then my sister Emily is the youngest. She lives in South Minneapolis. Just saw her yesterday. She's doing well. She's like the fun aunt to Simon, coaches baseball and works for Optum, and she's a lot of fun. So then if you rewind a year before this, it was 95, and this was my first day of 10th grade. Big smile because I just got my braces off. And my family had spent a semester in Kodaikanal, Tamil Nadu, South India. And that is where my journey with India began. What's neat is if you, not perfectly, but if you kind of combine all of these photos, so my husband, Mount Olive, India, then this happened. 5 years ago, November of 2019, when this incredible journey of Mount Olive coming to Bethania, it was the coolest thing. And independently, my family was intending to go too. I didn't mention that my dad passed away in 2015, and he's the one who had grown up in India, as I'll tell you more about later. But he had wanted some of his remains to go to India, so we were already needing to go, and then we were able to sync up with you all at Mount Olive, which was just the neatest thing, as I can't overstate. Mount Olive just has been such a special place to our family, and I think Dad would have been just floored about this trip. So a couple things to point out here. This bottom middle photo was that's the group, and we were on the site of the Shalom Home, and this ceremony was the groundbreaking ceremony at the end of 2019. So then you'll see a photo of the building a little bit later on. That was constructed in 2020 and 2021, and then dedicated at the start of 22. So it's been in operation for about 3 years now. The other thing that was so neat was this organ, you know, like bringing some of the Mount Olive culture and ethos to Cody, to this beautiful stone chapel at the school, Kodaikanal International School. That school that I had studied at and my dad had graduated from. The story with this organ is that they needed a new organ, and somehow there was this organ that my dad learned about that was taken out of a church in southern Minnesota, and then it was there was some money raised, and it was refurbished by an organ maker named Raleigh Rutz. And then in Morristown, Minnesota, where Mark Spitzek is from, there was this recital, and he played and dedicated this organ. Then it was taken apart and packaged and shipped across the world through customs, no small feat, and then driven up the mountain and installed in this chapel. And then we got to go, we got to hear it, and Mark played it again in India. So there's more to that story. It's a difficult climate for the organ, but just that we got to see that come full circle was really, really neat. Okay, I could go on and on. But we'll move into Bethania, and this is a map of India. It's we got to be a little forgiving with it. It's not entirely accurate, but what I want to highlight is that much of the ministry happens in the southern tip of India, down here. So this Kodaikanal is right in this cluster here. And then we have a home for boys in Rajahmundry, and this is the state of Odisha up here,
Okay.
where there's a couple of...
There's no indicator on the screen.
Oh, thank you. I bet that'll help. Okay. So up here is the state of Odisha, where there are a couple of other locations. Well, we know that there are a lot of problems in this world. There's a lot of brokenness. There's a lot of need. So many different things that we could do as Christians and as people who care a lot about suffering in the world. And India is no exception. India is a large country, very populous. There is a lot of economic disparity. So many people who are very wealthy, but also just a lot of poverty as well. And so Bethania has been a Christian ministry serving children and also women to try and improve these challenges. They're not necessarily unique challenges to India. We see some of these problems in our own country, of course, ranging from poverty and gangs and child slavery. But the scale is so large, 30 million children who are orphaned and destitute. So for many, life is hard. Now, one thing that I've been thinking about as I've been preparing for today is this quote from Mother Teresa, that we are never to worry about the numbers, because that would very quickly overwhelm us. We want to help just one person at a time who's near to us, and we can start with that person and maybe help the person after that and the person after that. This is how we can make a difference for Christ in the world. Okay, coming back to the history briefly about Bethania. So Bethania was founded by Dai Dhanapal, who's this really lovely Christian woman who was living in India and would meet children on the street and bring them into her home. And it was very grassroots, and she became friends with my grandma. So in 1957, my grandparents on my dad's side, Al and Polly, accepted a call to go to India. So they were Missouri Synod school teachers, and they had 4 kids, and my dad was the oldest on the far right. And in 1957, they boarded the Queen Elizabeth, and they sailed, I think it took a couple months, across the world and got set up in Kodaikanal. And so my dad was 4th through 12th grade. They spent 8 years as missionary school teachers there, and of course the kids were in school. And during this time, they got really connected with India. It really left such an impression on the family, and Grandma and Daibu became friends. So they had to come back to the US in 1965, but they kept up a correspondence, and Daibu would say, I'm caring for these children now, and Grandma would be praying and would be helping to support through sending checks. And this went on for some time. And then in the 80s, in 1987, it was, the decision was made to make this more of an official ministry. And so now it's been in existence, Bethania has been in existence for 37 years. And this is one of the oldest photos of some of the earliest kids. We're probably close in age to me now. But this was a co-ed home at the time, and now this home has been named the Daibu home in memory of Daibu. Now I have a 3.5-minute video for you.
India is the most populous country in the world and has one of the world's fastest growing economies. Yet, high levels of poverty persist, leaving many parents unable to care for their children. In fact, India has 30 million orphaned and abandoned children who are vulnerable to abuse and exploitation. As a Christian mission, Bethania Kids has responded. Our dedicated staff bring wholeness and hope to desperately poor children in India through our residence homes, care centers, and special needs programs. Our 4 residence homes provide long-term holistic care, shelter, food and clothing, spiritual care, medical services, and emotional and educational support. Generous donors fund tutors at each residence home, preparing our orphaned children for college or vocational training. Young adult resident Ramesh, who once lived on the streets and didn't eat for days on end, is now studying forensic science thanks to donor support. Our daycare and after-school programs ensure that almost 500 children have a safe place to thrive and learn while their parents work. Here, children like little Mohan, once malnourished, begin to flourish as they receive nutritious meals and soak up the love of Jesus. Located in the tribal region of Odisha, our 2 child and mother care centers are helping children attend school for the first time and improving health, hygiene, and literacy in the whole community. 18-year-old Runima is the first person in her village to complete 12th grade. She wants to go on to college to become a teacher. Recognizing that women play a critical role in children's lives, Bethania Kids also offers support to women facing intense poverty. Our empowerment programs have recently expanded. The Anna Parani Apparel Design Center offers advanced training in tailoring. Companies contract out to the design center, generating income for the women. Computer literacy and beauty care training are also new. Graduates of the first computer training program, like Mrs. Majeswari, are already obtaining computer-related jobs. Truly, God is doing a beautiful thing in India through Bethania Kids. We invite you to partner with us to nurture and equip the children and women of India to change their world through Jesus' love. Please pray, tell others about Bethania Kids, and consider a gift. Thank you.
All right, that does a really nice job of introducing the ministry, which is what I now kind of hope to walk through in more detail next. So again, it's not about the numbers, it's about the lives that we can change. This number of 1,000 children and women has been our number for a long time. It feels like God's provision. Like this is the portion that He's provided for us to care for. And it's really remarkable to think over the years, as we have more and more students graduating and becoming alums, and then new kids come in, it's just remarkable to think about where they have gone in the world. And that would not be possible without Mount Olive's help, truly, as Mount Olive has been along on this journey for better part of 4 decades. So we'll talk about the 4 residence homes, 2 for girls, 2 for boys. We'll talk about the care centers. There are services for children with special needs. And then where there's been the most growth has been with the women's empowerment centers. The vision of Bethania is to nurture and equip the children and women of India to change their world through Jesus' love. But what do we mean by nurture and equip? So when we think about nurture, we're thinking about a safe environment for children, which includes these basic necessities that aren't necessarily what they have coming in, shelter and food, clothing, healthcare, emotional support. To be equipped then would be the next steps of education and development of faith and vision of service. Here's our map again. My apologies that I did not put arrows to these sites. But once again, we will point out that we have a home for girls. The Shalom home is in this area here. And there's also one home, the Diagonal home for boys in this cluster. The Grace home for girls is in Nagarcoil at the very southern tip of India. And then the boys home, the Angel home, is in Rajahmundry. So here are those 4 homes again. Pretty roughly equivalent in size. And they're all of these sites are under the Bethania umbrella. So some work has been done to, kind of standardize practices and services offered. Yeah.
You're pointing out the one that we were at the groundbreaking for.
Yeah, this one, the Shalom home. So you can take in that photo of the front there. And then this shows the property. When we were there was this wall.
Yeah.
Scott was helping me remember.
Yeah.
The wall was constructed, but the building had not been constructed yet. And so, as I said, this opened in 2022, thanks to support from Mount Olive and others. This building was really sorely needed. They had been living in very cramped facilities that were not up to code, and we feared that had we been found out, there could have been some serious repercussions. But they were able to build this building following a big fundraising effort and expand up to 65 girls, and just has so much more room to live, to play, and they now have staff trainings and board meetings there too. So I now will take just a few extra moments for the next few slides, just so you can see some photos of the different elements of the cares at these children's homes. So shelter and clothing. And here's a picture of how they eat. They have really dedicated, wonderful cooks. Play looks a lot like recess. It's very refreshing not to see any devices. And healthcare and emotional support. Pandemic was, of course, a big concern. Managed to weather that okay. There was a death, sadly, from one of the homes. One of the leaders of one of the homes did contract COVID, and that was very sad and unexpected. But for so many of the children and their families, they were able to provide education and PPE and supplies. And this Days for Girls was, and I'm a little less familiar with this piece of it, but there was a organization that came in and did some education for girls, which was something, a piece that they were looking for in helping the children mature. Education. They study a lot, and they're in their local schools. Usually Tamil is the language that they're learning in, but they have extra tutoring support, extra increasing computer lab available to them. This gets into education a little bit more, as I was just saying, computers and tutors, making sure that they have books and musical instruments and opportunities to attend higher education for those that are good candidates for that. And they're mostly learning in their native languages, but those who can learn English, just generally does tend to be a good skill for their careers. Okay, and then all of the Bethania locations are showing the love of Christ, teaching about Christ. You do not need to be a Christian to attend Bethania Kids programs, but it is a core component of what they do. All right, I have 3 stories to share, and here is a representative from one of the children's homes. This is Jenny Priya, who came to the Grace home in Nagarcoil when she was 7. She had lost her father when she was 3 years old, and her mother was unable to care for her due to her own poor health. So when Jenny Priya came to the Grace home, she was underweight and she was troubled, fearful, struggling, upset. But she enrolls in the Grace Home. You can see how vibrant she looks now, and she's gained a lot in confidence and her capacity. And so she's ready to enter college, and she's aiming for a bachelor's degree in commerce, which is just an example and exciting to see her bright future. All right, so we have these residence homes, and we don't really call them orphanages, although you might think that that's kind of the model. Some of the children are orphans. Some of them, maybe like Jenny Priya, have lost one parent. But we know that in India and also in the US, there is the thought that we want to try to move away from the orphanage model. Wherever possible, we want to keep kids with family at home. And so maybe it's not mom and dad, but maybe it's grandparents or uncles or aunts or siblings, someone who is able to care for children and keep them safe. And so what Bethania learned pretty early on was this care center model that could be really, really great. So these are day programs for children where they live at home, and if they are really young, they may be coming for daycare programming so their parents can work, and if they're in school, they are attending their classes during the day and then coming after school for tutoring. It's really wonderful because it's less expensive, and so you can provide for more children. And they're able to receive many of the benefits of the full-time residential programs. These programs are sought after. There's often wait lists from families for children to enter. And then the feedback from their school teachers is often really positive. So a whole lot of children, 500 children, so half of Bethania are receiving care through this model. Josephine Selvan is that leader, and she's been to Mahalav. It's been a little while, but you might remember Josephine. She's been a tremendous leader in India. All right, another story from Mohan, who is a little guy. And I just mentioned that with the care centers, the kids live at home. But this is home for Mohan. It's a small tin sheet hut with mud floors and no indoor plumbing. His father is a day laborer, and his mother isn't able to work because she has polio. So when we met Mohan, he was noticeably underweight, and he wasn't communicating properly. But then he came to a care center, and the staff helped him with both of these things. He was able to gain some weight through regular meals. His speech improved. And though these are small photos, I think they are so cute, because here he is in a group with a ball, playing a game, and this looks like a little presentation he's giving to his friends. So really neat to see the transformation in his life. Okay, another map just to orient us. We're going to now go to Odisha. In Odisha, it's a similar model. These child and mother care centers. What was unique about Odisha was that it was an impoverished tribal area, and for a long time it was closed to us as white people. It was not thought to be a safe environment. I think that is changing as the trust with the community has increased. So that's exciting, and this is, an area that really does not have much knowledge of Jesus, many Christians, so this is an outreach that has been provided here. Here are some more photos. I'll just leave this up for a moment so you can see some of the similar themes of playing, praying, medical care, food. All right, children with special needs. We do have some services. You can imagine that it's already a challenge to be a poor child in India, or typically developing child. Then to have a disability would be even more difficult. And in India, they often like to refer to these children not as disabled, but differently abled, which is just a really lovely reframe. And so this is a fantastic facility in the Kodaikanal area. It is a partnership. It is not solely Bethania that runs this program, but they're able to provide this specialized care for multiple disabilities. And if you remember the Taste of India that was in early 2020, we brought back the plates that they made out of banana leaves, and they'll make other little placemats and crafts and things. And it's just a really neat way to care for these children and give them purpose and ways to contribute. Women's empowerment programs. So we know that women do play a critical role in children's lives, and it became clear over the years that it would be of benefit to assist them too. And for a long time, that looked like tailoring education and training. And more recently, it has expanded to beauty care and computers. So this is one area where they've grown a lot. 70 women served last year, up to 185 this year. So beginning with tailoring and embroidery, I just think this is really great that these women have a safe place to come to and gather, imagining that some of their home lives and their partners may not be always the most stable or safe. They're learning how to design and sew these beautiful clothing pieces and other accessories, and then they are sold in markets, and they are able to take those skills out and find jobs. They have also expanded in training in beauty care, which I think is really neat and something I would never have guessed that they would want to do. But what a really lovely additional skill to teach, and being able to help one another present themselves and feel beautiful, I think is always just such a neat service. And this is just another example of what they're training the women to do. And then computers have become more and more important and available as time has gone on. So they are teaching them keyboarding in Tamil and English, and then building upon that. And so their graduates now are able to find computer jobs. Like Mrs. Rajeswari, who was married at age 16, and her husband abuses alcohol. They have a 12-year-old son and a 6-year-old daughter, and they were struggling to make ends meet. the husband's wages were not able to support the family. So Mrs. Rajeswari came to the computer training program. She was one of the first graduates, and she's now working as a teacher in a computer center. They say that she is a leader in her community. She's feeling very confident, and she's very grateful to Bethania for giving her the ability to improve her family's difficult financial situation. All right, you all have been so very kind with your attention, and we are getting now to the end of my slides for today. Each of you have one of these cards, which is a really nice thing you could put on your fridge or on your side table. I hope you'll think of Bethania and remember to pray for the children and women of Bethania. Now, as I was preparing for this talk, I was talking with the staff, with Wendy Osterling and Lisa Smith, and the current president, his name is Ron Kepke, and they just wanted me to convey just how grateful they are, of course, to Mount Olive Lutheran Church. They would love to meet you, as many individuals as possible, and this is, of course, entirely up to you. There are a couple of QR codes on the back. One would take you to the donation page, but also there's this circle one that is just for updates. And I don't think that they are a group that's going to send a ton of updates. They are not that big, but you can consider just signing up for some emails and their newsletter, and they would be so happy to get to know more of you on an individual basis. But again, I come back to Mother Teresa that we aren't about the numbers, we are about lives changed. And this is something that Mount Olive has been doing very, very well.
I just realized I should go get this.
Thanks, Lisa. Yeah.
Certainly.
And not just India, but of course Guatemala and Minneapolis and all the things that you are doing locally and globally. With Bethania, it's been decades. And I asked, what has been the impact of Mount Olive? And I got a partial answer because the most current digital database is going back to 2007, and of course, Mount Olive was here way before 2007. But if you consider the last 17 years, Mount Olive has supported 10 children every year for 17 years. And that is $107,000, which is a fantastic, incredible amount, and has made a real difference in India. And thank you.
This was a gift from the former president.
Cheers. Yeah. I love that you brought that. That's great.
So we will display it.
Yeah. Finally, James reminds us that religion that God our Father accepts as pure and faultless is this, to look after orphans and widows in their distress. And I cannot say enough just how meaningful this church community has been to me personally and to my family, that you would remain so committed to Bethania, even travel to India, has just been very meaningful. So that is what I have today. Thank you very much. Judy.
I just want to say, I think when we were traveling there, it was stunning to us, the commitment of the staff to the girls and the boys in the care centers and the after school, their commitment to them, the gentleness with which they love them, And you could see it on the kids. It was, I don't know, I think you guys would agree, the staff was just outstanding. And long-term commitments of the staff to the children, it was really, really, really stunning. And I think we all came back just so impressed with the work that they did. When we saw them, it was before the new home was built, and so the girls in Kodaikanal were in a very cramped space. They ate and slept and studied in the same space that would just be changed. I don't know, it was just really overwhelming to us. The commitment of the staff was just awesome. It was just awesome. And the smiling faces of the kids, you could really see. I don't know.
Jubilee, they were just so joy-filled.
Yes.
It was refreshing because I don't see that in a lot of kids in America, so it's just, you know, it was just, and they don't have anything, so it's, obviously they're getting something there that's enriching their lives so well.
Well, what else is God?
What?
Who else?
Well, 1, 2, 3, 4.
The Dudecks.
Yeah, we got it. Yeah, yeah. We had 9 of us, plus the Bethania family.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you were impressed?
Oh my gosh. Oh my
I
gosh.
couldn't even talk about it for 3 months. It was so stunning. I mean, just India in general was just so, and then, you know, to even find the words to describe it was, because the long-term employment of the employees too. I mean,
Right.
they have worked there for 10 or 20 years, maybe. And it's, I have a video of Merck's, I'll send this to you, video of Merck's gets that playing catch with one of the kids in the center for the differently abled children.
And I still have on my desk one of those little boys from the differently able group sitting on my lap. It was just amazing.
They love to play Jenga.
I would like to know, is there partnership with the government, Indian government, and some of these, there was a medical doctor there, and he must have been from another organization that supports this organization. I mean, what partnerships do they have?
It's a good question. They're in good standing with the government. I know that to be true, and it is something they have to be very, very mindful of, because Christian ministry is not always afloat in India. So fortunately, when the government visits, you know, as they send representatives out, we're given good reports. That is something that I think they navigate it carefully.
And there's no exchange, no funds from the government?
No. Yeah. You had a question too.
No, I just had a comment. I love the global ministry, and have been for some years. And when we have our monthly meetings, we often say, well, we always try to inform the congregation about the projects we support. And just, well, we should put something in the olive branch about Bethania. And I can't say this for all organizations we've supported or have supported in the past, but Bethania does a really good job of providing not only pictures, but in their publications, give us a sense of what they're doing and what their new initiatives are, and explaining.
Wonderful. Thank you. I'm glad you mentioned it. Yeah.
I have 2 questions. One is kind of a piggyback off of her comment. I get information from other Christian organizations, and they talk about how individual Christians are persecuted really severely in India. And when they become a Christian, they're thrown out of their village, etc. So I'm wondering about that. And then the second question is, with all those children who need care, how do you decide which one gets to be in the home?
Yeah. Oh, those are really great questions. I am happy to tell you that I don't have a story of like real opposition to a person becoming a Christian in India. I believe that it happens. But I think that there are ways that the culture is able to navigate it, and there's not always understanding. There's certainly families that are Hindu or don't have a religion, and fortunately, nothing stands out to me as being a real challenging opposition through all of the people that have come through Bethania. And now I've forgotten the second question.
How
Which is a good
do
question.
you choose which
How do you
child?
choose? Yeah. So usually the answer to that is usually that the staff people are looking, their eyes are open, especially in the residential programs. They have a sense for the community and who is in need. And they do have pretty good capacity for that full-time care. The care centers then are the same kind of thing. They really want to make sure that the neediest children are coming to the care centers. But then I think they have, a process of a wait list and admitting more as they're able. I hope that answers the question.
I just had a general question. I don't know much about it. So what is like the overall structure of Bethania? Like how many are in the U.S. and how many are in India, or how that works?
Okay, so I didn't talk much about this, so I appreciate the question. India's totally in charge of operations. Maybe not totally, but we try to give them a lot of control and leeway to decide what is best in their culture for the kids. So they have a board of trustees, there's a CEO, and then it's something like 75 or 100 staff members between all of the leaders of the homes, the tutors, the cooks, and so forth. In the U.S., it is there's a board of directors, and we are really focused on raising the funds for India. And there's something like 3 full-time FTE, or combination of hours that are staff for the mine.
And is it still true that the funds we give go to India, and most of the support of Bethania comes from the United States? Is that
Right.
Is that true?
That is true. That is true. Now, that partnership with the Church of South India is a little different, and I think they do more local fundraising, and they're quite good at that. But that's one of the many locations. For almost the entire time, and it's true that if you want 100% to go to India, they will honor that, and they will make sure all that money goes to India. Then there's additional funding that is needed, for some of the administration overhead. And they've changed that a little bit so that they may ask you to say, yes, please, 100%, send this to India, versus just by default. It's become hard to sustain that.
I think it's just so amazing that it grew from one woman having kids in her home to the structure that is going now. It's amazing.
Yeah, God's been so good.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
She was the teacher, is that correct, of the language in this school?
She
Deborah
was a
the teacher.
yeah, you're
and then
right.
She was sheltering people in her own home, and you kind of learned about that. And yeah, she did good to the missionaries that were learning language and teaching.
You got that right. Yeah.
You said that the newest, Shalom, I think,
Shalom.
has conference facilities so that they can come together, but I have no concept of the size of India, how huge it is. How far do people come sometimes so that they can get together? Hours, is it?
Yeah, it's a large subcontinent, and when we were there, we experienced these long flights to get from the south to the north. And sometimes, yeah, they're driving or taking trains that are hours. So it's sometimes difficult to get everyone together, but where they can, they are meeting there.
Hey, what is your role? I know you were president for a while. Are you involved in the board, or how are you?
So I hit my term limits. So these days I am less active, but still, of course, enthusiastic.
Well, thanks very much. I think we'll see.
Yeah.